We are here for the launch of the biography by Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui, a very British Muslim activist. It talks about the horrors of partition of the migration to Pakistan to a new chapter in Britain. Tonight, the launch will be conducted by various trustees and the management, and we will hear from everyone what they have to say, the support that they have given, and also their involvement and the impact that Dr. Siddiqui has had in their lives.
I welcome all of you on behalf of HFA Board of Trustees, and especially on behalf of Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui for the book launching ceremony. Firstly, the health and safety. So we have two fire exits here. One is here. Is called from if there is any fire exit, fire or something, like you can go from that door or that door, and that will take you to the fire exit. So shall we start our proceeding with the recitation of the Holy Quran? May I ask Sheikh Abu Saeed Ansari to come forward, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة يقاتلون في سبيل الله فيقتلون ويقتلون وعدا عليه حقا في التوراة وعدا عليه حقا في التوراة والإنجيل والقرآن ومن أوفى بعهده من الله فاستبشروا ببيعكم الذي بايعتم به. التائبون العابدون الحامدون السائحون وبشر المؤمنين. Allah has bought from the believers their lives and possessions in return for paradise. They fight in the way of Allah and slay and are slain. It is a promise binding upon him in the Torah, the Gospel, in the Quran, and who fulfills his covenant better than Allah. Rejoice then in the bargain that you have made with him, for that is the mighty triumph. Triumphant are those and give glad tidings to the believers. Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 111 and 112. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
May I request Dr. Mateen Khan to come forward and take the seat, please? We start our proceeding with welcome note from Dr. Mateen Khan. He is a chartered accountant and got PhD in chartered management accounts. He worked in senior management position in Asia, Africa, and Europe. He also formed an education institute. He's been with the HFA since its inception, and he is the founding member of the board of the trustee. He worked with Dr. Siddiqui since 1994, and who else we can ask to come and explain about Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui. So I welcome Dr. Mateen Khan to say some words about Dr. Siddiqui.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and assalamu alaikum. This is indeed a very happy and proud day for all of us to launch a great photography of a great person who is none but Dr. Ghayasuddin, who is present with us today. On this auspicious day, I will briefly introduce Dr. Ghayasuddin as a wonderful elder brother, mentor, a sincere and loving friend. Sorry, I think I welcome all the guests and like to thank them for sparing your valuable time to attend this event. Incidentally, Dr. Ghayasuddin and I get on quite well. Besides having the same wavelength in intelligence, you must have noticed that we have some physical similarities. Namely, good looking, economy size, and seldom require a haircut. Before I go into detail about Dr. Siddiqui as a founder member of HFA, I'd like to provide some information for the guests who are not familiar with HFA. Briefly, the structure of HFA is as follows. HFA is a commercial arm of Halal Food Foundation, which is a charity. Whatever surplus or profits we make are passed on to HFF, which is the charity, and those funds are used for noble causes. HFA do not have any shareholders, and no money is paid in form of dividends. The charity supports number of projects to help the needy, namely providing free food for the homeless, providing free education for the disadvantaged groups. HFA main aim is to help and serve all the communities in the UK and abroad. I am proud to say HFA is a unique charity which is not only self-sufficient in providing halal food for all the Muslims in the UK and other parts of the world, but also helping and supporting all the communities at large by supporting projects that are for noble causes. So this is the uniqueness about HFA. Going back to Dr. Saab, more than 30 years ago, I won the jackpot, which was not actually the money, but it was the honor to meet two most distinguished, intelligent, respectable, and good Muslims, namely Mr. Siddiqui and Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui. I was most impressed with their mission, and I had no hesitation to join the Muslim Parliament. Forming the Muslim Parliament was a unique idea, and the organization progressed very well. Unfortunately, Mr. Siddiqui's health deteriorated due to stress and hard work, and he died, leaving a big vacuum. May God give him place in heaven. Ameen. Dr. Ghayasuddin had to take the brunt and had to work extremely hard to continue the mission. Among the many projects, Halal Food Authority was an important project in which I got closely involved. I can remember in early days, one of the activities we were involved was that every morning, both Dr. Ghayasuddin and I used to visit butcher shops all around London to monitor the halal tags to ensure whether or not the shops were selling halal meat. We used to be out all day long and come back in the late evenings. Dr. Ghayasuddin used to drive the car, and he never looked tired. Very often, we forgot lunch and dinner until I reminded Dr. Saab. Then he used to say, "Oh yes, you are right, we must eat something." I must confess that most of the butchers were not very honest in their dealings. They used to show the tag meat when we visited their shops. We noticed immediately after we had left the shop that they mixed the untagged meat with tag one, which was not halal. This created a big challenge for us. We did not give up. Our mission was very clear: to provide authentic halal food, including meat, to all communities. Islam not only teaches us to eat halal food, but also guide us the way we'll behave, the manner we communicate, and how we manage our lives. In short, it is a complete, ideal, and a healthy lifestyle package. There has been a great struggle in achieving our aim. Dr. Ghayasuddin is a fighter, and I don't give up easily. There has been a lot of roller coasters in our journey, but we stuck together and believed in our mission to provide halal products for the Muslims of UK and other parts of the world. We gradually realized that halal does not apply only to halal meat, but also includes all the food products consumed by the Muslims. This change of direction proved to be a breakthrough and turning point for HFA. I must say, Khwaja Saab is here also. Khwaja Saab contributed considerably towards our mission. He really worked very hard for HFA, for which we are really grateful. We have Mondelez Confectionery, Mars Chocolates, yes. And then you have Carry Food Confectionaries, Aled Bakery, which is King's Mill Bread, Warburton Bread, Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream, Edros Poultry, which relates to the chicken, and so on. So there are a number of clients for which we are very proud of. We are very much encouraged with the global statistics, which I will touch on. As you are aware, Muslim population in the UK is over 4 million and represents just over 5% of the total population. It is estimated that it will increase to 13 million by 2050. Presently, there are around 5.7 million Muslims in France and approximately 5 million in Germany. In Cyprus, Muslim represents 25.4% of the population. Population of younger Muslims in Europe is much higher than European. It is estimated that by 2050, the population of Muslims in Europe will double and then represent 11.2% of the total population. We have already have some clients in Europe, and we intend to expand our operations in Europe too. Islam is growing at a faster rate in the world than any other religion. Globally, the population of Muslim, which is around 1.8 billion, represents nearly a quarter of the world population. Presently, Islam is the second biggest religion in the world. The first is Christianity. It is estimated with the present rate of growth, Islam will surpass Christianity by the latter part of 21st century and will represent 1/3 of the world population. And these are the statistics we have got from the PEW Research Center. For those who are in halal business, the sky is the limit. For us, being a charitable organization, we will have much bigger community to serve in the future. Dr. Ghayasuddin, being the first chairman of Halal Food Authority, worked diligently and honestly to drive this organization to a stage for which we are so proud of. When I took over the reign from Dr. Saab, he said quietly to me, he wants the turnover of HFA to reach £1 million. And we are proud to say that we have achieved the target, what Dr. Saab wanted. This has been done through hard work and perseverance, both by the staff and the management of HFA. And may I thank and congratulate all of them. The Board of Trustees have also played a very important part in the success of HFA. May I also congratulate them all. Another important feature of HFA is that our clients and partners maintain high standards of halal compliance. We never had, nor will ever negotiate or compromise on halal standards under any circumstances. In fact, we are always looking for the ways to enhance our quality of service. This is the one of the main reasons why HFA, good reputation in the world, has been maintained. We run HFA on a professional basis and believe in innovation and enhancement. We are progressing in line with the modern digital technology. We have a professional board of trustees, and we ensure that the knowledge and experience of our staff and management is regularly updated through CPD programs. Dr. Saab has been an architect of HFA. His determination and his fighting ability is second to none. We all have learned a lot from him. I would sum up by saying Dr. Ghayasuddin is an intelligent, honest, honorable, humble, and a man of integrity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uddin Khan, for 9 comments. I will ask Asim Siddiqui. He's the founder chair of the City Circle and a current trustee of the Muslim Institute and head of the compliance at the investment bank, to come forward and present the book, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. Assalamu alaikum, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll say a few words about the book and how the book came to be written. So this has been a culmination of a journey that probably began around 2012. My dad effectively retired round about that time, and we felt that he had had such an unusual, fascinating and rich life that we thought this would be something that we must record in some way. And given his public profile during the 1990s and the noughties, we thought this would be something we felt others would find interesting too. So we thought he should write a biography. Many of his friends and colleagues had also suggested that he write his memoirs. So we knew this wasn't going to be a case of spending £25,000 on a shed in the back garden to write his memoirs, as we understand David Cameron apparently did. No, this is going to be much more of a collective effort. Now, my dad did not keep a diary, so we knew this was going to make the task that much more of a challenge. However, we knew that he had lots and lots of people who knew him and lots and lots of people who knew of him. So we thought that we knew this was going to be possible to piece together this book. Now, from early on, I knew what I wanted and I knew what I did not want. I did not want an academic book. I wanted a book that would be fun, an exciting read, and one that brought my dad's life to life, that brought his story to life, and one was that what would be accessible to anyone. So I wanted the book to make you laugh, to make you cry, but ultimately inspire you. So there was no pressure on the author then. So over the last 7 years, we had different people help with this project in different ways. I mean, I say project, and I use the word very loosely, because this was very much an idea, maybe even a fantasy for most of those 7 years. It only became a serious project over the last year or so. So I am a trustee of the Muslim Institute, and we discussed this idea there. Now, the Muslim Institute is full of lots of clever people. And when you want to do something clever, then involving clever people is usually a good place to start. We had a number of discussions there. Some of the suggestions was for a 10,000 or 20,000 word piece. Others suggested a piece for Critical Muslim, which is one of the journals of the Muslim Institute. But I said that no, this has to be an actual book, with a front cover, with a back cover, and pages in between, an actual book. So Ehsan Masood is one of the trustees of the Muslim Institute, in fact the chairman of the Muslim Institute. Who's a science writer, a journalist and a broadcaster, and also an author in his own right. He was instrumental in explaining to us how this could work. He took time out over the spring and the summer of last year to conduct formal recorded interviews with my dad over an 8-week period. We actually wanted the book to come out this time last year. However, the amount of work involved was immense. And Ehsan is a very busy man, and we are all probably being a little too optimistic. So, back to the Muslim Institute is what was for another discussion. It was there that Ziauddin Sardar, I'm very pleased, is with us this evening. Many of you may know Zia. He's a scholar, award-winning writer, professor, public intellectual, and author of countless books of his own, including his own memoirs. He said that if you want this book written in the way that you would like it written, there's only one person for the job, and that person is Scott Jordan. Now, Scott unfortunately couldn't be with us this evening. His father passed away last weekend, so we send our thoughts and prayers to him. He lives in the United States. So I said to Zia that I've never heard of Scott Jordan. And I simply asked Zia, can he write? Zia said, yes, he can write. Now, for those of you who may know Zia, for Zia to say someone can write is a very big deal. Zia is someone who is very critical of everything and has very exacting standards. So Zia does not give out compliments lightly. So if Zia compliments someone's writing skills, it means they're going to be very good. So I totally trusted Zia. Now, of course, Zia has a deep history with my father that goes back some 40 years, and that's all captured in the book. They were both involved in the launch of the Muslim Institute in the 1970s. They took opposing views on the Islamic Revolution in Iran, but they retained a deep respect for each other. So I thought my dad's story was safe in his hands. We then discussed things like how the book would be written. Would it be in the first person? Would it be in the third person? Now, both Scott and I agreed this would not be a ghost-written book in the first person, and that was for two reasons. Firstly, it had to be authentic, and I was not convinced anyone who had barely known my dad could possibly write this book in the first person, especially at a time when my dad's personality and voice was not as loud as it was perhaps 10 years ago. And by being in the third person, it frees up the author from any such restrictions and opens up the story to much more creativity, being one step removed from the subject. It can be written like someone who's hovering over my dad over the last 80 years as some kind of guardian angel taking notes. So, at the start of this year, Scott moved into my parents' home in Cheshire to see how the Siddiquis lived. So, once Scott had done his interviews with my dad, his research, going through the archives in Cheshire, watching my dad's TV interviews on old VHS tapes, reading old newspaper clippings and articles written, he then left for Malaysia, which is where he was working, to work out the first draft. So I was told that the first draft would be ready by the end of Ramadan. So I left Scott alone. But every now and then I would drop him a message, a WhatsApp message, to see how things were coming along, when I might see the first draft. Scott was suitably vague and non-committal on the exact dates. There were periods of radio silence. And I thought maybe the fire has run out. Maybe this whole thing is going to fizzle out. Then I remember one day, out of the blue, whilst I was at work, I received an email in my inbox with the first draft. I was so excited. I opened the email and the attachment, and my jaw dropped to the floor. I had to pick it up and reattach it to my face. I was so impressed with what I saw. It was then that I realized that this dream was actually going to happen. The book is really happening now. In fact, I still have a copy of that first draft. Between that first draft and the version we have today, it must have been through 1,000 versions and 1,000 redrafts. It went through many changes with additional stories, anecdotes, incidents, episodes that we kept adding as we kept remembering them. We would just keep adding them in, and Scott was amazing to work with. He would welcome all the additional stories that he knew was just going to make for a better book. Now, parallel to this, Ehsan had found us a publisher, Jamil Chishti of Beacon Books. Now, we wanted to choose a publisher that would not only deliver the book on time, but not change the story we were writing. Our concern was that if we had chosen a more mainstream publisher, they may want to sensationalize certain parts of the book to boost sales. We were not interested in that. We wanted to ensure the story was as truthful and as factual as possible. The story was exciting enough as it was. It didn't need to be exaggerated to present characters as either extremists or fanatic or any other so-called Muslim stereotype. We wanted all the characters in the book to be presented as complex human beings who made mistakes and not in a judgmental way with the benefit of hindsight. So we were literally making changes right up until the wire. All my family made huge contributions. My older sister Faiza made significant contributions to the draft. Uzma, who read through the whole manuscript with her legal eyes. Salman, being the artistic one, designed the cover. I should also like to thank Raza Ali for his work on conducting the original interviews, and also to Yahya Burt for reviewing the draft. So this has been a real labour of love. It has been an incredible 12-month journey. We really hope you enjoy the book, and we would love to hear your feedback as well. I would now like to invite Riaz Patel.
I first encountered Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui in the early 90s when I was a researcher at BBC Northwest. And the reason he stuck in my mind is, compared to all the other, in those days, community leaders, like you see in that program, Sidan Khan, he actually made a lot of sense. I may or may not have agreed with a lot of what he said, but he actually made a lot of sense. It was logical. And for someone like me, at that stage in my life, it gave me hope that there's people out there that understand how communities work, migrant communities work, what their migration patterns are, and how they operate. But this particular extract, it's a short extract from the book, a very British Muslim activist, and I would encourage everyone to buy a copy if you haven't got one already. It's taken from page 134, which is where the book discusses the Halal Food Authority. Some minor adjustments have been made to the reading by myself. This is just to help the flow of the reading. But for the full passage, please do read the book. So, okay, fine. And also, it's an absolute honor to give this reading instead of Scott, who I met whilst he was researching the book, and my deepest condolences to Scott and his family for their loss. Okay, so the dream of the Halal Food Authority, established in 1994, was the synthesis of Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui's life's work up to that point. The vision was delicate. What was needed was an organization that had the authority of a government institution, but was an independent body working alongside British society for the Muslim community, and one which would not compromise on its Islamic values or fall victim to corruption or bureaucratic arrest. While it may appear a small initiative, the scope would grow to what can be seen today by a visit to the supermarket, including the big chain stores, and looking at the packaged meats to see how the Halal Food Authority seal of approval reigns dominant across numerous brands throughout Britain. The initial question, which often kills a movement upon launch: where to begin? Ghayas saw that another minority community had risen to prominence in British society, the Jewish community. They must certainly know a thing or two about working with the British government and organizing their community towards action. They too have religious dietary restrictions. It would have been foolish to go about establishing a model for halal regulation without at least looking and reviewing the kosher models. Ghayas went further and extended that managed to trickle into reality and are the soul of a plural, multicultural society desperately reaching towards progress. While Martin Shaw's background was as a lawyer, largely working in fundraising, management and consultancy, his work and experience with the British government gave him a natural talent for navigating applications and government, and his trust in collaborating with the British Muslims would make him a great mediator amongst and within both the Muslim and the Jewish communities. A key ally, Martin inspired Martin to help out in an endeavor that had little bearing on his everyday affairs. Ghayas not only benefited from an ally, but in making a friend within wider British society. Now, with a model in mind, it was time for Ghayas to turn to the Muslim community and bringing in others who shared his vision. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Hospital. We have some time restrictions, so may
I certainly regard my friend Gaius as a great leader. But his values and beliefs, personality and ethics simply follow the same ethics of halal. His wisdom is never-ending. And for me, he has integrity, accountability, empathy, humility, resilience, vision, influence, and positivity that sets him aside from other leaders. It is said that management is about persuading people to do things they do not want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do things that they never thought they can do. I can recall many long car journeys, right, guys, with Gaius to and from offices in Fulham Palace Road or his home in Chesham. However long they were, they all passed so quickly as we debated continually to try and solve not just the issues of his work, but sometimes even those in the world. There were never embarrassing silences as we talked for hours in the car. But even when there were occasional lapses in our discussions, it felt as though that the time was being spent in deep personal thought. And it was always Gaius who broke the silence with an inspired thought or solution. Indeed, we spent many hours pondering on how best we could restructure the Muslim Institute Trust, as it was known then, and the Halal Food Authority, not only to meet the demands of modern British society, charity and company law, but how these new infrastructures would enable Gaius to achieve his vision for their work. I think we achieved some success, and we can now look at, as Dr. Mateen has aptly put, we can now look at the HFA and the Muslim Institute with pride now at their achievements. So we can now look forward to even more success and achievements with both these organisations. Actually, I would also add, we had a lot of fun together, didn't we? And shared many a good laugh as we travelled around. This marvellous book, reflecting so well on the life of Gaius, is also an inspiring read and helps us all reflect on our own lives. We all pale into insignificance against what he has achieved. He has inspired us and inspired me personally, and I am indebted to him for his guidance and wisdom, and I'm sure many of you feel the same in this room. There's a little thing here. An old Cherokee told his grandson, "My son, there is a battle between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy and truth." The boy thought about it and asked, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" The old man quietly replied, "The one you feed." In conclusion, I thank you, Gaius, for all you have done, not just for me, but for everyone you have met. We can only wish you well. Thank you.
Now, may I request Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui to come forward. He's the founder chairman of Halal Food Authority and a great social worker for Muslim community, as you know, all these things. He done his BSc from Pakistan and PhD in chemical engineering from Sheffield University. He has dedicated his whole life for Muslim community in UK. He is well-known activist, campaigner, writer, and expert in Muslim political thoughts. Please welcome Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui to share his experience, life experience. Thank you.
What strange your friends are. They only remember you by your failures, not your successes. But this haunted me all my life, that I failed. Then of course I did MSc, PhD and everything. And often I told my mother then I was no burden to you. Because it so happened that because of my activities, I got scholarships in MSc, summer scholarship, and then of course, and all of a sudden I got admission in Sheffield University, which of course has also a monetary attachment. So I was granted this scholarship, and I of course came to Sheffield, where I did my PhD. But one of the things that I learned is that in Sheffield, I of course, as you know, that I met many important personalities in Sheffield and invited them to give lectures. Malcolm X was one. But one of the things I remember that I learned how to help other fellow students. So when they will used to come to university, I'll tell them that don't tell them you have sacks of money. Just declare bankrupt. And I will tell you the tricks to how to earn money. And then, of course, they used to get a scholarship and other funds. And I became some kind of an advisor to people to and help them in many ways. It was nice, of course, talking to you here. It was a wonderful evening, and of course, and have I told you a joke about many years ago in Karachi? Somebody came looking for me and met my father, and they asked me, "Where is Liz here?" He said, "Yes." I said, and they knew me, that Ghayas who has failed his BSc examination. And my father said, "What a shame. Your friends know you by your failures, not your successes."
Okay.
Of course, you have seen this book. The rest of the story is told by Scott, and is all there. So thank you very much. Thank you. My friend, he knows me from my old days, but I was not old all the time. I was young and active, and we used to have so many demonstrations.
If you do not understand Urdu, then it might be a bit difficult. What I'll do is I'll do some commentary. I will not do any translation. Aapki ijazat hai? Thank you. So if you read his book, in the first couple of chapters, you will find this story where, as a young man, he helped in the funeral of a Hindu. So Ghayas Saab is a humanist and he's a humanitarian. So this poem by Sahir Ladhianvi is a well-known song as well. ज़मीनें हो बडेरों की मशीनें हो लुटेरों की खुदा ने लिख के दी है ये तुम्हें
मैंने उसको देखा बल्कि उनसे बहुत कुछ सीखा। इस किताब की इशाअत यकीनन एक एजाज़ की बात है, लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ कि किताब की इशाअत से एक फ़र्ज़ किफ़ाया की अदायगी हुई है। जिस तरह डॉक्टर ग़यासुद्दीन सिद्दीकी जिसका डॉक्टर ग़यासुद्दीन सिद्दीकी साहब हक रखते हैं, मैं अपनी मोहब्बत का
Please, could you share some feelings about your launch today with us?
I'm delighted. I'm glad that this occasion has taken place. It's very flattering for me. It's nice feeling. Very flattered, very flattered.
Okay. And do you see yourself maybe having any more that you would like to share and say about your experience and how others can take on some of your things that you have learned in your journey?
I think in your environment there are so many bad things are happening. One has to take a stand. Anything evil, wrong happening, and must insist to change. And with effort, everything is possible. Change is possible. It's not that change looks difficult, but change is possible. It only requires some mad people to put a hard effort to bring that change about.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best for your future.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Amir Masoom. I'm the CEO of Halal Food Authority, and this is a book launching of Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui, a very British Muslim activist, and he is the co-founder chairman of Halal Food Authority. They launched this Halal Food Authority in 1994, and today is his biography about what he has actually gone through while he was working for Halal Food Authority, and his all the experiences, and he's going to share about this.
Excellent. So it sounds like it's a very honourable evening. Please tell us what sort of involvements we're going to see from various different people tonight.
He is activist for Muslims, and he has worked hard. His background is he did a PhD in chemical engineering from Sheffield University, and then when he was in UK, it was difficult for him to find halal food at that time, and so he struggled a lot, and then he launched this Halal Food Authority, and with the Halal Food Authority now the Muslims are obviously can eat halal in UK and all over. So we are very honored that he was a founder, and we are working under him, and we are pleased that he is given us this opportunity to launch to celebrate the launching of his book.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Please kindly tell us what kind of impact has Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui has had on your life and your involvement, and a little bit about this evening.
Dr. Ghayas, I met him about 30 years ago, and it was a wonderful thing because what had happened is that there was another gentleman called Dr. Siddiqui, and Dr. Siddiqui, now the Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui, they were very good friends. So I met them, and then we formed a Muslim parliament, and that was very, very successful thing. And unfortunately, Dr. Siddiqui died. He was a lot under pressure, and he worked very hard, and unfortunately he passed away. And then Dr. Ghayas Siddiqui, got all the brunt, and had all the work to do. Very hard work he did, and I was working with him, and we formed this organization called Halal Food Authority, and Halal Food Authority was established about 25 years ago now, and we gradually built up right from butchery to various foodstuffs, and it has been very, very successful, mashallah, and it is the message has gone all over the world, right up to Japan, Korea, Thailand, and all over UK and Europe. So we are doing quite well, and Dr. Ghayasuddin was the first chairman of HFA, then I took over about 2-3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So how has his life had an impact to yours, and what are you feeling for tonight?
Well, I feel feel very happy actually to read his book and also the launching of his book, because he's a wonderful man, and we have learned a lot from him, and he's really kind, and he has helped everybody. He has helped the Muslim community and all other community at large, which has been a great thing,
A very humble Muslim, it sounds like.
Yes, a very humble Muslim, very kind, intelligent, and also he will do anything for anyone. Very sincere friend also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Please kindly tell us how you are involved and what sort of impact has this Mr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui's biography has had on yourself. Share a few thoughts and feelings with us today.
Okay. I first became involved with Ghayas some 20-odd years ago as a management consultant, and I was asked to come in and help Ghayas in his various endeavours. So all the years have gone by. Okay, and we've helped Ghayas with new infrastructure, and we've come to the point now where the structures that he was involved in and I helped him with are now very positive and working well. Excellent. So it's a pleasure to look back now and see things are working well, and to see a man of vision like Ghayas actually beginning to achieve what he set out to do. Now, I've got a mention in the book, much to my surprise and pleasure, but it's quite nice to see and to look back and reflect on the part that I played. I come from the Jewish community, and so therefore we have a fabulous relationship, and we've had many good discussions and debates over the years, and we've learnt from each other of how to take things forward in both the Muslim Institute and the Halal Food Authority.
Well, it sounds like really religions have a unity compared to what the outside world may look at it as, and it sounds like that Ghayasuddin Siddiqui has had an impact in your life. Please share, some of the things that might just stand out more for yourself.
We need to reflect back on that, because within the Jewish community there's lots of factions. And he taught me from an early age of working with him of all the differences in the Muslim community. Now, why they all come about, who knows? But actually the faith that we both have has helped us find the strength to work through some of those differences and similarities in order that we can all move forward from our faith. And our faith is both very strong, and we have worked hard to think about that in terms of the structures and work that we've done together.
Excellent. It sounds like to me there are similarities which everyone can work on together. Would you not agree on that?
I would, and in fact in his early time with Ghayas he looked for that support and the similarities between what the Jewish community was going through and what the Muslim community was going through. And in fact, when he formed the Halal Food Authority, he looked for kosher food and how that worked, and were there lessons that we could learn from each other, which now we have.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, we've got a very prominent person here. If you could kindly tell us what your involvement is with the launch of this evening, the biography, and how you progress to see the evening conduct.
Well, let me talk about Ghayasuddin Siddiqui first. I go back almost 40 years with Ghayasuddin Siddiqui. When he first was involved in setting up the Muslim Institute. In fact, I was involved in setting up the Muslim Institute as well. So my kind of relationship with Ghayas Saab has a long history. I left the Muslim Institute after the Iranian Revolution, but Ghayas Saab stayed. So we have a slightly different stories beyond 1979. But it has to be pointed out that Ghayas Saab has kind of, since that period, since the 70s, Ghayas Saab has made a tremendous contribution to the Muslim community in various aspects. And one of his main achievements was to keep the Muslim Institute going. Right? It became slightly dormant during the 80s and 90s, during the 90s. And then essentially he passed it on to me, so I revived it in the current form that it is. But while he was doing work for Muslim Institute, he was setting up other things like Halal Food Authority,
Sure.
and numerous other institutions.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like he was involved in various different things, and one of the valuable things was the Muslim Institute. Can you tell us a little bit more about other people's involvement with Mr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui and yourself?
Well, I mean, there are kind of numerous other people. I think it is very difficult for me to think of kind of individuals, but the people I think of are people who are close to me, like Iqbal Asaria, right? He was very active with us in the Muslim Institute during the early days, and also Mufti Barkatullah. I think most people know him. In fact, Mufti Barkatullah, I also go back to the 70s. We have a long relationship. So all of these people kind of participated. And most of these people actually appear in the biography. One of the important thing about this biography is that it preserves the history of that period, not just the history or biography of Ghayasuddin Siddiqui, but also the history of the Muslim community, all the involvement of the Muslim community in the Muslim parliament, in the Iranian Revolution, in the Palestinian struggle, in developing the marriage contract, setting up a Halal Food Authority, and what the Muslim Institute itself has done. So all that history, and many of the personalities who worked with Ghayas are featured in the book.
Right.
And I have to tell you, it is a great read. It almost reads like a screenplay.
Sure, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we've had a wonderful launch of today. Please tell us, I know you've been busy organising everything and seeing everyone's achieved and got everything that they needed. You've taken care of it all. How was the launch for you? And if you could share some feelings and thoughts.
Thank you very much. First of all, this is great honor for me. I lost my father when I was 14. And when I met Dr. Saab here in 1994, and believe me, after just few months, I feel, no, I have a dad. Because he always, keep an eyes on me like, elders. Like he always give me a care, a love like a father. And I'm so glad, I'm very happy we have a Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui among our community, and we can give the example to the world, a gentleman of Britannia in Muslim community.
He sounds like he is the ideal role model. After speaking to his grandchildren, can you tell us something about what you feel that, how you take him as a role model?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Saab is actually a role model for not only for the family, is a role model for all the generation. Just like me, as I mentioned earlier, when I start, working as a volunteer in the Halal Food Authority, I was very young, and he teach me a lot. And now I'm a successful businessman, and I think I never forget. Without Dr. Saab's support, until today, otherwise I was nothing. I want to say some words in Urdu, which is because I'm an Urdu writer, Urdu author, and I'm going to write a book on the Dr. Saab in Urdu language. So I definitely will say a few words. कि कुदरत की फ़याज़ी की ना कोई हद है, ना कोई किनारा. कुदरत जब फ़याज़ हो जाए तो दुनिया में अपने रहमत के मोती बखेर देती है. खुदा की अजीम रहमतों में से एक रहमत जो अल्लाह सुब्हाना ताला ने मुसलमानों को और ख़ुसूसी तौर पर पाकिस्तानियों को एक इज़्ज़त मकाम के सूरत में दी है, उसका नाम है डॉक्टर ग़यासुद्दीन सिद्दीकी.
That is so beautiful, and it sounds like he has left a legacy.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, good evening. I believe you're one of the trustees here. Kindly tell us what kind of involvement do you have, and how do you see this launch going about this evening?
I'm a relatively new trustee for the Halal Food Authority. My involvement is mainly around business support and logistics. My involvement in this particular launch today is that I have known Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui for a few years. Actually, it's almost 15 years since I've been in London. And it's an individual that has managed to achieve a great deal of achievements. They're all detailed in the book. In fact, many are not detailed in the book. And I'm here today to support him and to support the book launch.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So please tell us about the impact Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui has had in your life, and what can you say about how you feel about tonight's launch of the biography?
Well, this is a very proud moment for us because Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui is the founder chairman of Halal Food Authority back in early 1990s, and he worked virtually day and night to serve the Muslim community. At that time, there were a lot of problems in getting any halal food, halal meat, halal chicken. So he thought that he must establish a standard. And initially, we were involved with all the butchers and restaurants, but that was the initial period. But later on, the field kept on expanding, and as the export industry to Muslim countries kept enlarging, today we are certifying pharmacies, bakeries, etc. KFC is our client, Kellogg is our client, and all. There are so many non-traditional people who would not associate with halal food industry. We are certifying their products because anything which has to be exported to Middle East or to Far East like Malaysia, Indonesia, they need halal certification. And Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui started this and today, mashallah, we are a good entity. We are well known in the market, and we are serving our Muslim community quite well, I think.
Please kindly share a few thoughts about your husband's life story and his biography of the launch today.
He was a very, very busy man all through his life. And he involved all his kids in this because I remember my eldest daughter when she was, I think, 15 or 16, she was organizing the conferences. And it's all because my husband was making sure that they're all involved in that. Okay. But they all loved it because he thought that it's very important for these children to have something so that they stay in the right path as well. Mm-hmm. So if they're committed to something, they won't be under pressure, but they will love doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think I love that part because I was very good with them when they were young. I keep them occupied and do whatever I could do with my kids. Yes. But when they are teenagers, that is very difficult for me to get them involved. But I was very fortunate that my husband, he played his part. Yes. And he did a very good job in involving them. Mm-hmm. And they did really a good job, and they loved it. Mm-hmm. Because I used to work in the community in Chesham. Sure. And I've seen so many families that moms, they can't do a lot of things with their kids when they're grown up. Mm-hmm. When they're young, they can look after them, they can keep them occupied and whatever. But once they're grown, then it's difficult for them to keep them. And then you need a father figure who can. Sure. And that was the best bit. And that was, I think, the reason that they are on the straight path. Yes. Because at that stage, you can go anywhere. Sure, yeah.
Well, he sounds like a very amazing man. And, there's a lot that you've learned and he passed on to you and you've passed on.
I think he was like a friend to his kids. None of them were frightened of him. Mm-hmm. They used to talk about anything and everything with him. And that was the best part of it, because sometimes, although he did not have much time to spend with them because he was a very busy man, yes. But whatever time he did manage to, he did his best, and he did make them involve in so many things. And he was quite open that if, for example, my youngest son, he is very involved in art and literature and things like that, and he's got no issue with that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Isma, today is your father's big launch of his biography about his life and the fact that he's a very British Muslim activist. Is there anything that you could share with us today of how you feel about it?
Well, it's been a lovely event and I've really enjoyed being here. I think for the family it's been like a culmination of my dad's life, his story, his journey of how he kind of got here. And obviously we've kind of lived through it, we've seen the day-to-day struggles. And I think it's given us an insight for all of us. For me personally, I think for me, my inspiration of me going into law, choosing my profession, was my father. It was something that he told me when I was very young. It was something that he had always wanted to do. And so he kind of guided me throughout my university and my professional career as well. And so I think, this book it's been really nice. It's kind of brought the family together. All 4 of us kids have got involved in it, participated in the writing process as well. And so it's really nice to be here on this kind of launch event, and it's a culmination of all that work together.
Brilliant, thank you. You must be so proud.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here, and I think it's lovely for my dad to be here as well, actually. I think that's the biggest thing, for him to have witnessed it as well. I think that's lovely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, if you can all tell me why you're here and what sort of support are you bringing tonight?
So I'm here because, number one, that's my grandfather, and also I think it's really important that we spread the message of how important he's been to the community and how he's played a fundamental part in the HFA authority. So I'm really glad that this event's taking place and we can all acknowledge the events and hard stuff he's had to be through to get here.
Brilliant. And what about you?
Oh, I'm his grandson, and so in our school we have a HFA certificate on the wall, and and my granddad is one of my biggest role models, as he has accomplished so much for the halal and Muslim community.
Okay, brilliant. So do you think you've learned something from that, from what you already know?
Yes, a lot.
What about you? Do you want to say something about your granddad?
I'm really happy that he's made his new book.
Brilliant. And does your school know about it?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe we can tell the school. If we can get a little supporting statement from yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the daughter-in-law, and we've been there. The kids have really enjoyed watching all the archives of videos, and the book documents literally the struggles that they've done. I say to my kids, your life is so easy because the things that my father-in-law and his friends did. For example, they can go to any party, there's halal food everywhere, there's no pork served in their school. So things have come a long way, and even the dress, the hijab is very accepted, and they don't need to have a forced marriage. So I say life is very different for them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We've got some really great support here. Tell us how you're feeling about this launch this evening, and what kind of impact has Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui has had in your lives, if you could share with us.
I met Dr. Ghayasuddin in 2012 when we were just about to start our organization, Muslim Women's Advisory Council. And he basically was the base of this organization. He introduced me to a lot of people. We were doing the research at the time. And he gave some excellent advice, introduced us to some excellent people who are the backbone of our organization. So he's great. He's what I know about him, his personality, his persona, and the way he wanted to help people. And when he realized what we want to do, he was more so, even though he came all the way from Chesham into Baker Street by train to meet us. So I think this launch is just befitting him, his biography, and I haven't read the books. Of course, I'm sure it seems very interesting, and all the dinner and everything, all the people here giving him respect, and I think it's great. I'm really honoured to be here.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. And something from yourself, in support.
I work with Muslim Women Advisory Council, and this is the first time I've met Dr. Ghayasuddin. And I've heard a lot from Ruxana and my other colleagues about him, and they all speak very highly of him. And it's an honor, and listening to what he's achieved in life, I think it's very commendable. And well done to him, and support of his family and his friends, and we're really proud of him.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you. So we are here at the launch of Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui's biography today, which is told as told by C. Scott Jordan. Just want to find out, why you're here, and how do you feel about it?
Support a wonderful book and to understand a bit more about the history and show that it's a really fascinating story.
And what about yourself?
I think with the current climate and with the stuff happening with young Muslims around the country and just generally with the climate of Islamophobia, it's really good to look back at role models, and I'm sure he's amazing in terms of that. So it's just nice to see what he did and how we can learn from it.
Is there anything specific that you can think of that's had an impact on your life from what was written?
Yeah. I think his patience and persistence, and I know he's one of the founders of FOSIS, and he's created so many platforms for us. So just that it wouldn't have been easy. So just the patience to get through it all.
Brilliant. Yeah. Anything you have taken away from that?
I think it's a bit of resilience as well, and not letting anything get in your way, and kind of being focused on your goal and getting other people on board who are like-minded.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, ladies. This book is a treasure trove of lessons. This book talks about losses and wins. This book is about wisdom in troubled times. Today we have seen the launch of a very British Muslim activist, Dr. Ghayasuddin Siddiqui, as told by Scott Johnson. There are many lessons to learn. There were proud families, there were proud relatives, proud friends who have come a long way, who have shared his journey, and we have heard from the man himself. He was almost tearful, but there is a very, very wisdom, so much wisdom that we can all take away. This is Sabia Khatun for LBTV, London.